Story 1. The discovery of ancient stone structures in McDonald Lake, Ontario. Divers working on a submarine project in McDonald Lake in the Hypogeum Forest and Wildlife Reserve, Ontario, Canada, discovered a submerged man-made ancient stone structure, possibly 5,000 to 10,000 years old. For some, this is irrefutable evidence of a long-lost civilization that inhabited the region before the last ice age. One or two researchers have linked this discovery to Canada's Stonehenge, a huge 5,000-year-old stone wheel discovered south of Alberta. Who were the people who constructed these mysterious monuments, and what do they represent? The Hypogeum Forest and Wildlife Reserve Limited is a privately owned forest comprising 120 square miles in Hypogeum County, Ontario, Canada. The owner and manager of the 25,000-hectare Hypogeum Forest is Dr. Peter Schiffenbound, who inherited it from his father. Recently, various sources on the net carried a story about a submarine survey of McDonald Lake, a popular tourist attraction, which apparently took place in 2008. According to the story, during the survey, divers encountered an ancient stone structure, which was thought to be proof of the presence of a mysterious ancient culture in the area, life from Central Ontario ancestors. Staff at the Hypogeum Forest and Wildlife Reserve would often see this unusual stone structure balanced on the top of a rock ledge at a depth of about 40 feet below the present lake level. While in the tour submarine, which was in existence for a few years at the site, the structure consisted of a 1,000-pound elongated south-pointing rock sitting on a baseball-sized stone at each side, which, in turn, rested on a massive slab. Initially, the structure was considered a complex version of a glacial erratic, rocks carried by glaciers thousands of years ago and left where they happened to melt at the end of one of the recent ice ages. However, when various geologists and archaeologists examined images on the subject, some expressed doubts about its natural origin. Their main objection was that the structure had straight edges rather than rounded, which would normally characterize rocks scoured by glaciers. One alternative was that the mysterious structure was man-made, but the problem was, how could that be established? The Hypogeum Forest and Wildlife Reserve Limited decided to hire an underwater archaeologist to examine the structure more closely. Apparently, after a brief examination of the structure, this unnamed archaeologist concluded that it was undoubtedly the result of human activity rather than an accident of nature. The company also employed a statistician to calculate the probability of these 7 rocks in the lake falling on top of each other to create what looked like a structure. The statistician determined that the probability of 7 rocks falling into such positions at the right time and place was almost impossible. But if the structure was man-made, what was it? Who built it, and when? Some researchers think it resembled the prehistoric stone found throughout the world, which serve as monuments, burial sites, markers for ceremonial land, or even navigational aids. Others think it may be a burial chamber, or perhaps a dolmen. Dolmens are a type of single-chamber megalithic tomb, mostly dating from the early Neolithic, 4000 to 3000 BC, found in a variety of places throughout the world, but mostly in northwest Europe, particularly in the region of Brittany, France, Britain, and Ireland. The thick layer of silt covering some of the surfaces of the structures indicate that they are very old. But beyond that, without further evidence, it was impossible to say when it was built. However, when geologists were consulted on the matter, they apparently pointed to a drought, which may have hit eastern North America between 9000 and 7000 BC. At this time, conditions were so dry that water levels in the Great Lakes were as much as 165 feet lower, and inland lakes like McDonald Lake may well have been at least 40 feet lower than their current levels. If the structure of McDonald Lake is a prehistoric monument of some kind, why was it situated in such a remote place? One theory is that the sparse local population at the time may have been attracted to the spot by lake trout, often described as glacial relics, as they are a holdover from the Ice Age and live mainly in deep, cold-water habitats. One geologist suggested that in prehistoric times, McDonald Lake was not a lake at all, but part of an ancient river system, which made an ideal habitat for the trout. But no prehistoric monuments of the kin or dolmen type exist in the USA, Canada, or anywhere else in the world, dated to anywhere near 9000 to 7000 BC. Does that make this structure the oldest in the world, or should the glacial erratic theory be examined further? However attractive these explanations for the Lake McDonald structure being a prehistoric monument are, without further evidence obtained in an independent study or excavation, unconnected with the Halberton Forest and Wildlife Reserve Limited, such as contemporary artifacts or signs of man-made tooling marks on the stones, we cannot say this for sure. There are one or two researchers who have linked the underwater structure at Lake McDonald to a mysterious monument known as Canada's Stonehenge. This would make the Lake McDonald prehistoric structure later in date, say around 3000 BC, though still unique to the area. In his 2008 book Canada's Stonehenge, Astounding Archaeological Discoveries in Canada, England, and Wales, author Gordon R. Freeman puts forward the theory that the ancient structure is a prehistoric calendar. A summary of the book on Freeman's website states, the discovery of a 5,000-year-old sun temple and an ancient time machine Stone Age calendar in Canada led scientist Gordon Freeman to groundbreaking discoveries in Stonehenge during fieldwork and research from 1986 to 2006. Freeman found striking similarities between the surface geometry of the two sites. These similarities push back the boundaries of written history and have far-reaching implications for North American and European history. Could the same mysterious ancient cultures have built Canada's Stonehenge and the Lake McDonald structure? Perhaps they were both related to ancient astronomical observations. Freeman describes what he discovered at the ancient site of Canada's Stonehenge, located in Vulcan County, Alberta, in his book. I had found an amazingly accurate year-round calendar in this sun temple, marked with rock lines pointing to sunrises and sets at critical dates. I later learned of arguments going on, mainly negative, about whether Stonehenge contained marked observation lines to the summer solstice sunrise and the winter solstice sunset. By applying what I had learned in Alberta to observing sunrises and sets through Stonehenge, I found that an accurate, entire year-round calendar exists in Stonehenge. The term, Canada's Stonehenge, refers to the monument known by archaeologists and historians as the Majorville Medicine Wheel. There are between 70 and 150 Native American stone structures known as medicine wheels spread over the northern United States and southern Canada. Though each individual structure is unique, the shape of the most common type of medicine wheel resembles that of a wagon wheel lying on its side, with a central can from which lines of cobblestone radiate outwards to a surrounding ring of stones. The diameter of medicine wheels, as well as the number and length of their spokes, varies. The largest so far discovered has a diameter of around 80 feet. Occasionally, there will be a break in the outer stone circle to allow a stone pathway or entrance into the center of the structure, and sometimes one of the spokes can be considerably longer than the others, perhaps signifying the importance of the direction in which it's pointing. The dates of these medicine wheels also vary considerably, but it is acknowledged that the oldest so far investigated is the Majorville Medicine Wheel, which was started around 5,500 years ago. There is no doubt that the wheel may have served some astronomical function, but it is more probable that this would have been part of a wider ritual use, perhaps involving hunting magic or buffalo fertility. This is not to say that Native Americans were not sophisticated enough to build observatories, far from it, but in one sense, to state that the Majorville Medicine Wheel was built only to make complex astronomical calculations is to apply modern Western ideas from a 21st century technology-dominated era back into the past. This explanation reflects our own concerns with timekeeping, calendars, computers, and space, not necessarily those of the Native Americans who built and used Canada's Stonehenge. Story 2. The Ancient Relics Beneath Isaac Cole Lake. The ruins of a 2,500-year-old lost ancient civilization were recently found in a lake in Kyrgyzstan. Some researchers believe that these ancient remains may include an ancient Armenian monastery, where, according to legend, the body of Saint Matthew, one of Jesus' disciples, and many of his relics were buried. A number of Orthodox Christians have long believed that Matthew was finally laid to rest here long after his death. Since the 19th century, Russian scientists, archaeologists, and researchers from the Kyrgyz Academy of Sciences have studied ancient relics around Issyk Kul Lake, one of the world's highest and deepest lakes, located in a valley in the high Central Asian mountains of the Republic of Kyrgyzstan. Issyk Kul Lake is 113 miles long, up to 37 miles wide, and has an area of 2,480 square miles. It reaches 2,192 feet in depth. The lake was first mentioned by Chinese and Islamic mapmakers at the beginning of the 8th century. Archaeological finds from the site have included petroglyphs, 3,000-year-old nomadic burial mounds known as kurgans, early Christian monasteries, and medieval cities. The lake has long held fascination for researchers, as divers have been exploring its depths since as long ago as the 1860s. There was a significant rise in the water level of the lake at the end of the 14th century and the beginning of the 15th century. As a result of this, the remains of various ancient cultures were submerged, including Bronze Age settlements, Sakyusuni burial mounds of the 1st century BC, medieval towns and settlements, and Turkic monuments. Since 1985, Professor Vladimir Flazzi, vice president of the Kyrgyz Academy of Sciences, has been directing underwater surveys and excavations at Issyk-Kul, and in 2010 he joined forces with National Geographic to explore the extraordinary history of the lake. In September 2013, scientists and archaeologists from National Geographic began investigations at the lake. The team chose this site due to its position at an important location along the legendary Silk Road, with routes running along its shores in the past. Innumerable trader caravans, nomadic tribes, and armies traveled along the 113-mile-long lake, leaving behind little archaeological legacy. The Silk Road was an ancient trade route linking China with the West, along which goods and ideas were carried between the two great civilizations of Rome and China, and later between medieval European kingdoms and China. In the Middle Ages, the area surrounding the lake was fought over by two opposing lines of descendants from Genghis Khan, the Eastern Mongols and the city-dwelling Islamic Western Mongols. The legendary Western Mongol, Lu Taman, is said to have fought a battle over the lake region in the early 1400s, and there are medieval records of a palace built by the conqueror on the lake's shore. Issyk-Kul holds much mystery. Researchers continue to unearth incredible relics from beneath its waters, such as remnants of large cities, ancient burial sites, and previously unknown civilizations. Many are convinced that these discoveries suggest a hidden history that continues to shape our understanding of early human civilizations. Story 3. The Enigma of Nan Madol. Nan Madol is located near the southern side of the Federated States of Micronesia and is the only ancient city ever built on top of a coral reef. The ruined city is one of today's great archaeological mysteries and is sometimes interpreted as the remains of one of the lost continents of Atlantis, Lemuria, or Mu. In fact, Nan Madol was one of the sites James Churchward identified as being part of the lost continent of Mu in his book The Lost Continent of Mu, Motherland of Man. The ruins of the ancient city complex of Nan Madol, located on a coral reef and lagoon on the tiny town of Timwin, near the eastern shore of the island of Pohnpei, in the Federated States of Micronesia, are composed of 92 artificial islands spread over 200 acres, surrounded by water on 3 sides with a stone wall enclosing the complex. The city complex is sometimes referred to as the Venice of the Pacific. Although there is evidence of human activity at the site dating back to the 1st or 2nd century BC, the construction of the artificial islands did not begin until around the 8th and 9th centuries AD. The majority of the megalithic structures were built from the 13th to the 17th centuries by the Soter, descendants of 2 brothers possessed of magical powers who founded a religious community in the 6th century AD based on the worship of the sea. The focus of the whole megalithic complex is the royal mori of the island of Nan Madol, with its 20-foot-high walls surrounding the central tomb enclosure. Throughout its 500-year existence, the city was a political and ceremonial seat of power, serving as a religious center, a royal residence, a fortress, an open marketplace, and the seat of local government. The population of Nan Madol during its heyday was probably over 1,000 people, the majority of whom were commoners serving the nobility. By the beginning of the 13th century AD, the island of Pohnpei is thought to have been conquered and unified by the mysterious Soter dynasty, and it was then that the spectacular complex was constructed as a ceremonial and political seat for a new royal line. The Soter line was brought to an end in the 1500s by exiled Pohnpeian warriors. The new chiefs, known as Namaki, occupied Nan Madol for a couple of hundred years, but by the 1800s, when the first Europeans arrived, the site was deserted. The mystery of why remains one of the many enigmas of this incredible site. There are certainly mysteries surrounding Nan Madol. Some of the stones and columns at Nan Madol are so substantial that no one has been able to figure out how the site was constructed. The Pohnpeians left no evidence to suggest they used concrete to fix the stones together, nor are they known to have had digging equipment. This has left archaeologists baffled as to how they sank the heavy stones into the lagoon. A clue to how the transportation of the great megaliths was achieved may lie in crystal basalt columns discovered at the bottom of the lagoon near Timwin Island and on the shores of other islets in the area, which suggests that the stones may have been transported by raft. According to local legend, the stones used in the construction of Nan Madol were magically flown to the site by the two brothers who supposedly founded the complex. Although archaeologists have located several possible quarry sites on the main island, the exact method of transportation of the construction material has yet to be determined. The site of Nan Madol has been linked with even greater enigmas than the method of its construction. One controversial theory connects the site with the lost continents beneath the Pacific Ocean. Lemuria and Mu are interchangeable names given to the lost land believed to have been located somewhere in either the southern Pacific or Indian Oceans. This ancient continent was supposedly the home of an advanced and highly spiritual culture, perhaps the mother race of all mankind, but it sank beneath the waves many thousands of years ago as a result of a geological cataclysm. The thousands of rocky islands scattered throughout the Pacific, including Easter Island, Tahiti, Hawaii, and Samoa, have been claimed by some to be the only surviving remains of this once great continent. Nan Madol, with its mysterious megalithic structures and the story surrounding it, is often included in this theory. Story 4. The mystery of the ancient giant structures in Brazil. In Brazil, researchers have made an extraordinary discovery of a megalithic observatory built at least 5 centuries before the European conquest of the Americas. This finding, along with other recent archaeological discoveries in Brazil, challenges the long-held belief that the Amazon was an untouched rainforest, home to small, nomadic tribes. For decades, archaeologists thought the Amazon was sparsely inhabited, but in recent years, evidence has emerged that the region was actually a thriving hub of human activity, with complex societies living there long before Europeans arrived. The archaeological park Salsis, located near the city of Calwan in Amapá State, northern Brazil, contains a megalithic stone circle often referred to as the Amazon Stonehenge or the Brazilian Stonehenge. The megalithic site, which sits on a hilltop on the bank of the Rio Grande River, consists of 127 upright blocks of granite, each up to 13 feet in diameter and weighing several tons. These stones are arranged evenly in a circle measuring over 98 feet in diameter. After conducting radiocarbon testing and measurements during the winter solstice at the site, scholars in the field of archaeoastronomy determined that an indigenous culture arranged the megaliths into an astronomical observatory about 1,000 years ago, 5 centuries before the European conquest of the Americas. This discovery pushes back the boundaries of knowledge about pre-Columbian civilizations in South America and calls into question the idea that such advanced structures were not created by indigenous peoples. The purpose of the megalithic stone circle at Salsis is still debated, but many believe it was used for ceremonial, astronomical, or burial purposes, or possibly a combination of all three. One of the stones at the site has a circular hole carved into it, and during the winter solstice, the sun shines directly through this hole onto another rock. This feature supports the theory that the Amazonian Stonehenge was used for astronomical observations. This discovery has significant implications for our understanding of ancient South American cultures and their capacity for complex engineering and astronomical knowledge. The fact that such a site was built in the Amazon, once considered an area with little pre-Columbian activity, shows that ancient civilizations in this region were far more sophisticated than previously thought. Story 5. The Wonders of the Hypogeum in Malta. The Hypogeum of Hal Saflieni is one of the most fascinating and mysterious ancient remains found on the island of Malta. The site is a subterranean complex that dates back over 5,000 years. Discovered in 1902 when workers digging foundations for a new house accidentally broke through the roof of one of its chambers, the Hypogeum is an underground tomb and temple complex that extends for around 5,380 square feet. It is located in the town of Paula, in the south of Malta Island. The Hypogeum was carved entirely out of solid rock and is considered one of the most important prehistoric sites in the world. The complex consists of a series of oval chambers, halls, and niches, set on 3 levels, one beneath the other. The upper level, which was in use from around 3600 BC to 3300 BC, consists of burial chambers cut into the natural caves on each side of a central passageway. This is the oldest level of the complex. The middle level, which dates from 3300 BC to 3000 BC, was carved as an extension of the upper level. This level exhibits exquisite stonework, with elaborately carved trusses that imitate the masonry of the above-ground megalithic structures found on Malta. This level also contains the most important features of the Hypogeum, including the main chamber, the oracle room, and the Holy of the Holies. One of the most famous artifacts found at the Hypogeum is the Sleeping Lady, a terracotta figure believed to represent a female figure lying in a tranquil sleep. The figure was found in the oracle room, and some researchers believe that it may have been associated with the worship of a mother goddess or great goddess, a theme that is common in many ancient cultures. The Hypogeum's oracle room is another fascinating feature. The ceiling of this room is decorated with spirals and honeycomb designs, and the room has an incredible acoustic property. It is known as a resonance chamber, as it amplifies and echoes human voices, creating a deep, haunting sound. The chamber resonates at an intriguing frequency of 111 Hz, which has been associated with healing properties. Researchers believe that the Hypogeum may have been used for religious ceremonies and rituals involving sound and voice. The Holy of the Holies, the most elaborate chamber in the entire complex, contains intricate stone carvings and a unique porthole entrance. It is believed that this room may have been reserved for high priests or other important figures, possibly as a place of spiritual communion with the divine. The Hypogeum is also notable for the large number of human remains that have been found within it, approximately 7,000 skeletons spanning a period of over 1,000 years. The fact that no remains were found in some of the more sacred rooms, such as the Holy of the Holies, suggests that these areas may have had different functions, perhaps related to ceremonial practices rather than burial. The site was added to UNESCO's World Heritage List in 1980, and it continues to be a place of intense archaeological and spiritual interest. Visitors to the Hypogeum can explore the mysterious chambers and experience the eerie acoustics that have fascinated researchers for over a century. Story 6. The Unsolved Mysteries of Isaac Kul Lake. Isaac Kul Lake, located in the high Central Asian mountains in Kyrgyzstan, is one of the world's most enigmatic locations. Over the years, researchers have explored the depths of this vast and mysterious lake, uncovering clues that point to an ancient and thriving civilization that once lived there. The lake itself, with its crystal-clear waters and breathtaking landscapes, has always captivated travelers and scholars alike. In 2007, Russian archaeologists and researchers from the Kyrgyz Academy of Sciences began a joint project to explore the underwater ruins beneath the surface of Isaac Kul Lake. Divers reported the discovery of an ancient city submerged at the bottom of the lake. The area had been partially submerged due to a rise in water levels in the late 14th and early 15th centuries, but traces of a lost civilization were still visible to those willing to look. The submerged city, believed to have been part of a once thriving culture, is thought to be a remnant of an ancient Armenian monastery, where, according to legend, the body of Saint Matthew, one of Jesus' disciples, was buried. The city has long been a subject of debate, with some researchers suggesting that the remains are from an unknown culture, while others maintain that they may indeed be tied to the Armenian Church's history. Artifacts found near the lake include ancient bronze battle axes, self-sharpening daggers, and casting molds that suggest advanced craftsmanship. In addition, the city's structures show clear signs of advanced engineering. The site continues to raise questions about the presence of sophisticated societies in Central Asia long before the rise of the Mongol Empire. In the 1990s, underwater excavations at the lake led to the discovery of several large stone structures resembling ruins that could be part of a lost civilization. Among the findings were pieces of pottery, inscriptions in ancient Armenian and Syrian scripts, and ceremonial items that indicated the site was of great cultural significance. These findings support the theory that the submerged city was once a center of worship and learning, long before the arrival of the Mongols in the region. One particularly intriguing find was a piece of ceramic pottery inscribed with an Armenian script. This suggests the monastery on Isaac Kul may have been a vital hub for early Christian religious practices in Central Asia, further strengthening the legend that the remains of Saint Matthew were hidden in the region. The discovery of these artifacts, along with the underwater ruins, is helping archaeologists piece together the complex history of the region, challenging the previously accepted notion that this part of the world was sparsely populated in ancient times. Researchers are still working to uncover more about the submerged city, and while much remains a mystery, it is clear that the site holds the potential to rewrite the history of Central Asia and its connections to early Christianity. Story 7. The Secrets Beneath McDonald Lake. In Ontario, Canada, beneath the surface of McDonald Lake in the Haliburton Forest and Wildlife Reserve, divers working on a submarine project uncovered an astonishing discovery. They found a submerged, ancient man-made stone structure, possibly between 5,000 and 10,000 years old. For many, this discovery is seen as irrefutable evidence of a long-lost civilization that once inhabited the region before the last ice age. The structure consists of large stones arranged in a mysterious formation, sitting at a depth of about 40 feet below the current lake level. Divers who explored the site reported that the formation appeared to be more than just a natural occurrence. It looked deliberately arranged. Initially, the structure was believed to be a complex glacial erratic, a formation of rocks carried and deposited by glaciers during the last ice age. However, further examination by geologists and archaeologists raised doubts about this theory, as the stones did not show the typical rounded edges of glacial deposits, but instead had sharp, straight edges. An underwater archaeologist was hired by the Haliburton Forest and Wildlife Reserve to investigate the formation more closely. After a thorough examination, the archaeologist concluded that the structure was undoubtedly the result of human activity rather than a product of nature. The archaeologist also collaborated with a statistician to determine the likelihood that the 7 rocks had fallen into their current arrangement by chance. The statistician calculated that the probability of this happening naturally was nearly impossible, further suggesting that the structure was man-made. If the structure is indeed a prehistoric monument, the next question is, who built it and why? Some researchers believe the structure could be a ceremonial site, a burial chamber, or even a navigational aid, similar to other megalithic structures found around the world. The theory of an ancient civilization in the area is supported by evidence that water levels in the Great Lakes and surrounding regions were much lower between 9,000 and 7,000 BC, possibly exposing the structure above the lake's surface during that time. The remote location of McDonald Lake raises further questions about the structure's purpose. One theory suggests that the area was a vital habitat for ancient communities due to the presence of lake trout, a species that survived the Ice Age and remains elusive today. It is believed that prehistoric people may have been drawn to the lake to fish and use the area for spiritual or ceremonial purposes. Although the discovery of this structure is groundbreaking, there is still much to be learned. Without additional evidence, such as tools, artifacts, or further excavation, it is impossible to say for certain when the structure was built or what it truly represents. Nonetheless, the underwater formation in McDonald Lake remains one of the most intriguing archaeological finds in recent history, opening new possibilities for understanding the ancient history of North America. Story 8. The Enigmatic Discoveries of Canada's Stonehenge. In 2008, author Gordon R. Freeman published a groundbreaking theory in his book Canada's Stonehenge, Astounding Archaeological Discoveries in Canada, England, and Wales. Freeman's research led him to uncover significant evidence of a prehistoric site in Alberta, Canada, which he believed was connected to an ancient calendar. The site, known as the Majorville Medicine Wheel, was constructed by Native American peoples around 5,500 years ago, but Freeman speculated that this discovery could have a far-reaching connection to the underwater structure found beneath McDonald Lake in Ontario. Freeman drew parallels between the geometry of the two sites, suggesting that both were used as astronomical observation points. He argued that the large, wheel-shaped stone formations at both locations may have been built to track celestial movements, marking sunrises, sunsets, and solstices. In his book, Freeman described how he had spent years studying these ancient stone structures, comparing their alignment with key astronomical events. He found striking similarities between the Majorville Medicine Wheel in Alberta and Stonehenge in England, pushing back the boundaries of written history and offering new insights into the connections between ancient civilizations across the globe. While Freeman's theories have sparked debate among archaeologists and historians, the notion that these ancient stone wheels served as early timekeeping devices cannot be dismissed. In his research, Freeman found that the stone wheel in Alberta was not just a random arrangement of rocks, but a carefully constructed tool for measuring time and tracking the seasons, much like Stonehenge. As Freeman's findings gained attention, questions arose about the true origins of these megalithic structures and their connections to ancient cultures across North America and Europe. Could it be that the people who constructed these monumental stone formations were part of a lost civilization, one that had advanced knowledge of astronomy and construction techniques? Or were these stone structures simply the work of indigenous peoples using the resources available to them in the environment? The search for answers continues, and the mystery of Canada's Stonehenge remains an important topic of discussion among those who study ancient civilizations and their connection to the stars. Some researchers have even suggested that the underwater structure at McDonald Lake may be linked to the Majorville medicine wheel, further indicating that the ancient cultures of North America had a deeper understanding of the cosmos than previously thought. The possibility that these ancient structures were part of a larger, interconnected system of celestial observation across North America is a tantalizing theory, one that could reshape our understanding of pre-Columbian history. While definitive proof is still lacking, the discoveries made at McDonald Lake and in Alberta suggest that there is much more to learn about the ancient cultures that once thrived in North America. The continuing research into these ancient stone structures may eventually provide the missing pieces of the puzzle, revealing a hidden history that could challenge our modern understanding of human civilization. Story 9. The Lost Civilization of the Amazon. Deep in the heart of the Amazon rainforest, a team of archaeologists has made a discovery that could completely change our understanding of ancient civilizations. In March 2018, a group funded by National Geographic and the European Research Council uncovered evidence of large, previously unknown settlements in the Amazon's Upper Tapajos Basin. Using advanced satellite imagery and carbon dating, the team discovered 81 distinct archaeological sites that suggest a highly advanced civilization once thrived in this area, challenging the long-held belief that the Amazon was sparsely populated before European colonization. For centuries, the Amazon has been considered a pristine wilderness, untouched by large-scale human activity. However, these findings point to a much more complex history. The settlements range from small villages to massive urban centers, with features such as ditches, sunken roads, and earthen platforms that likely supported houses. The size and sophistication of these sites indicate that the people who lived in the Amazon thousands of years ago had a deep understanding of agriculture, architecture, and social organization. The discovery of these ancient sites is groundbreaking because it shows that the Amazon was once home to a highly organized civilization, one that had the resources to build and sustain large, complex settlements. The evidence suggests that the ancient inhabitants of the Amazon utilized the landscape in ways that were previously thought to be impossible, with the dense forest and challenging terrain serving as a foundation for their culture rather than an obstacle to it. In addition to the physical structures, the team also discovered evidence of extensive agricultural systems. These ancient farmers cultivated crops that are now staples of the modern world, such as manioc and sweet potatoes. The presence of these crops, along with the well-developed infrastructure, suggests that the civilization in the Amazon was far more advanced than previously imagined. Researchers believe that the people of the Amazon may have built a network of trade routes that connected them to other civilizations across the continent, facilitating the exchange of goods, ideas, and technologies. The discoveries in the Tapajos Basin also raise questions about the fate of this ancient civilization. What caused it to disappear? Some researchers believe that environmental changes, such as shifts in the climate or the arrival of diseases brought by European colonizers, may have played a role in the collapse of the society. Others argue that the destruction of the civilization was the result of deforestation, as the ancient inhabitants cleared vast areas of land to build their cities and cultivate crops. Despite the challenges, the research team is continuing to explore the site and gather data that may shed light on the history of this lost civilization. As more discoveries are made, the team hopes to uncover even more about the people who once lived in the heart of the Amazon. The implications of these findings are profound, as they challenge everything we thought we knew about the pre-Columbian Americas and the development of ancient civilizations. In addition to the archaeological discoveries, the project has also sparked a broader conversation about the Amazon's role in global history. The belief that the region was an untouched wilderness is slowly being replaced by the understanding that it was once home to sophisticated societies, whose legacies can still be seen in the landscape and the cultures of the indigenous peoples who remain today. As the research continues, it is clear that the Amazon is far more than just a jungle. It is a repository of history, holding the secrets of civilizations long forgotten. The work of the archaeological team is not just about uncovering the past. It is about reimagining the history of the Americas and recognizing the incredible achievements of the people who lived there thousands of years ago.